this long list of things that are now showing up as things you and your family should tap into as you learn more about it's the nervous system that we need to heal in order to get over from autism or autoimmune or whatever it is. That surface level of the conversation is as accurate and right, and I'm its biggest advocate you've ever seen. But once we open the box to nervous system healing, we have to understand that nervous system repair and foundational first step healing is significantly different than nervous system regulation and support, which we can use down the road. Welcome to the Experience Miracles podcast, where we help parents find hope, answers, and drug-free help to overcome your child's chronic health challenges. I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, and I'll be sharing my experiences as both a dad and a doctor on every episode. I can take the latest science and neurology of healing and break it down in the most simple and relatable way possible. We'll take on the toughest topics and answer your biggest questions through interviews with other amazing parents and leading experts, leaving you with practical action steps that you can take to help your child heal and thrive. It's time to expect and experience miracles. Let's get started. All right, moms, dads, providers, if you are listening into this one, I'm going to start with a common story arc that I've shared before, but we're going deeper into this conversation, both with the story, but most importantly with the science, and even more importantly with the interventions that I know you need to tap into for your child to experience full, deep, foundational, complete, transformative nervous system healing. And moms and dads, this is a conversation for you as well, because not only do you have your own health history, you could fill out your own paperwork and clipboard and put plenty of different things that are not only maybe symptomatic and a condition or conditions and symptoms you're struggling with, but most importantly is going back into your case history and saying, hey, what trauma have you been through? Not just physically, but you're living in this toxic, overloaded world as well. And then what trauma have you been through in your own life emotionally? But when your child is sick, I don't know too many other traumas that we experience as parents that are more traumatic than that. And so what we're going to talk about today is the absolute neuroscientific, neurosomatic, there will come right out with it, fact and truth that the body keeps the score from all different types of trauma. But I first want to give us kind of our own storyboard as to how we may arrive to clicking into, listening into this episode and saying, there it is, that's the missing link. It's hidden. It's that needle hidden in the nervous system haystack. Heck, it's hidden in this whole freaking crazy healthcare Facebook group haystack that we all live in. All the information we have access to is the best thing ever. It's moving us all in the exact right direction, but it's moving a lot of us left and right and sideways and up and down. And many of us, with trying to help heal our children and ourselves and our family, we don't know which way is up and which way is down anymore. We've lost that compass. We've lost that confidence to say, okay, is there something else I haven't tried yet? And the overarching question we get is, I've tried everything. How could this be different? I've tried everything. What's left? Now let's go into that, because that's what this conversation is. When I got into practice, coming up on 18 years here as a recording this one, I've been in practice. When I first got into practice, the massive shift and transformation of philosophy, perspective, and science is getting people unhitched from the medical system. Hey, this is genetic. There's nothing I can do about it. We don't really think lifestyle is involved. That was, again, if parents ever thought that, it's not that they innately, naturally thought that. It's just that's what the pediatrician and the conventional medical system sold to us. Honestly, there's no other way to say that, because it's not true at all scientifically for the vast majority of conditions and symptoms and challenges, okay? They're not just bad luck. They're not just genetic. So the whole premise of the medical system over the last generation or two, thankfully, has started to crumble right before our eyes. And millions of people are leaving that system because they didn't get any answers. They didn't get any hope. They didn't get any explanations. And the interventions, more vaccinations, more medications, only led to more chronic illness, more symptoms, more side effects, and more struggle for their kids and their family. So if you go into a system, you don't get any answers, you don't get any explanations, and the help you are given not only doesn't work, but it makes things worse. Of course you would naturally leave that system, right? Despite how entrenched we all grew up with our parents and our parents' parents, really were, those generations came of age when the medical system, in a lot of ways, and it still does today, saved millions of lives. But there's a vast difference, right, between the emergency crisis care system and actual healthcare. And the conventional medical system is the best in the world. It's indescribable. They saved my son's life as to how great they are at that, and then how inadequate and woeful they are at actually generating, promoting, and maintaining and knowing what the heck it takes to heal from chronic illness and stay healthy in the first place. So the story arc continues. So throughout the course of my career, ahead of launching this Experience Miracles podcast, I have been watching with excitement, because if you're moving away from one system and one, way of thinking and doing, you obviously got to move towards. This is physics. I talk about this away versus towards strategy all the time. And I'm much more of a towards person. I like to talk so much more on here, and always have with my practice, my patients, and my community about, hey, there's so much good over here when we do things this way. So it's much more of a pull and a positive strategy, but you can't skip over the negative either, right? When you tell the truth with the perfect storm, when you tell the truth with the conventional pediatrician, it just is what it is. But what's exciting as people leave that system and move away from it is they've moved towards, let's call it natural health. Nutrition, right? Gut health, the gut and immune system. 70% of our immune system is in our gut. So if our kiddo is chronically sick and they have all these allergies and they have asthma and they get ear infections all the time, or whatever kind of sickness and illness they get way too much of, let's heal their gut and we'll strengthen their immune system. Heck yes, totally true. It does so much good work. So nutritional intervention, detoxes, diet changes, supplementation, vitamins, homeopathic interventions, essential oils. Now in today's world, you've got a much next level of this with functional medicine. Might be IVIGs, reinfusions, right? I don't think they call them reinfusions, but you know where I'm going. There's a lot of incredible results that happen when we heal through nutrition and lifestyle and diet changes and detoxes and supplements. Now, in this third wave of change, what we find is parents will often have exhausted that functional nutrition, lifestyle medicine outlet and seen some positive changes. Some haven't seen any changes, and others are just kind of net. There's still more, right? My child isn't fully healed. We're not all the way there. It just feels like in my gut. And then when I look at my kiddo, who again, we still have some of these challenges, or myself, and I've done the diet changes and I've done the detoxes, now we're still not healing. So right now, happening before our very eyes is we're all moving towards where I, more excited than ever, would say, this is where we all should have started, the nervous system. So the nervous system is trending, okay? The vagus nerve is trending. The conversation around nervous system dysregulation is trending. Sympathetic dominance. These are terms that 5 years ago you would have never heard anywhere on Instagram, TikTok, or a Google search, and now they're everywhere. And what they're coming with, rightfully, awesomely, just hear me right here, incompletely when it comes to actually first, foundationally, deeply healing chronic illness and chronic challenges when kids and patients, yes, us too, mom and dad, when we've gone through significant trauma, when we get into the conversation about nervous system regulation, which is things like deep breathing and yoga and meditation and red light therapy and asana and biofeedback or neurofeedback or craniosacral work. I'm actually going to bring these back into our list. You know this podcast, we're going to get into kind of the relatability, the story arc. We're going to get into the neuroscience fully. And then we're never done with the podcast episode till we get to the end and we talk about the action steps. Here's what you do with this information to get full, deeper, more complete healing for your child and your family. And I'm not only going to talk about chiropractic adjustments with this one. We're going to get into other interventions. And let's just call a spade a spade. We're going to rank them. We're going to sequence them. Another one of my favorite words, if you're a long-time listener, that everything goes in order. Well, when our nervous system has been damaged due to trauma, significant trauma, sometimes one event like forceps, vacuum, emergency C-section, sometimes birth trauma, all by itself is enough to cause this damage. And I don't have any other word today to talk about other than that. We're going to talk about nervous system repair and deep foundational healing versus nervous system regulation, and when to use which one and how to use both best. Let me say that one more time. We're not going to pit them against each other, just like I am not even meaning to say, oh, this is a conversation of conventional medicine versus functional medicine, or this is a conversation of functional medicine versus neurologically focused chiropractic. No. It's so hard when you have a podcast or you make social media clips or we put our quotes up, because in today's world, we're so connected to information, but we're also so used to being divided. And we just all have been, for some reason, trained to think that this is always an or conversation, when all I want you to ever learn from this podcast and our platform is it's an and conversation, but the order and the sequence matters massively. We can be doing all the right things, but if we're doing them in the wrong order, and if we don't do the first most needed, deep, potent, foundational nervous system repair first for a season, well, then we might think that all these other things on the list, the craniosacral, the deep breathing, the magnesiums and zincs and diet changes, we might think, oh, these are no good. They didn't work for us. Maybe they will and would have worked if they were done later on in the sequence instead of first or second or sometimes even third, fourth, 35th in the sequence. So you're really going to learn a lot, because now we're in this neuro age. Now all of us know, holy cow, it's our nervous systems. It's stress. Is it gluten? Yeah. Is it dairy? Yeah. Is it these, like, anybody, this is going to relate to a lot of you. Have you done food allergy testing and food intolerance and been like, how could it possibly be that my child is allergic to blueberries? How could it possibly be that my child is allergic to grass? Where am I supposed to take them? Am I supposed to move into the basement apartment, in San Francisco and only Las Vegas? There's no grass in the desert. It's fake if it is, right? Are you supposed to move to Vegas and live in a concrete jungle? And I'm just going to step aside here and go into something that's very important to me. See, it's really something. When we go in with a medical philosophy, even if it's a more holistic, functional, but still medical, like, hey, this is broken, sometimes we'd have to, along with that information, we'd have to accept that we were just designed broken, that our kiddos this is just how they are. They're going to be, unable to detox forever. They're going to be unable to handle these foods forever. I personally, and through my faith in God, and we're designed to be entirely healthy, and we're designed to be healing machines, especially our kids. When I look at it biblically, I just don't believe that. And when I look at it neurophysiologically and neuroscientifically, and I look at what I see happen in our clinic for all these years, I really don't believe that, because I've got the Bible and neurobiology that says, I think there's more to the story than saying, hey, look at these results. You are MTHFR. You have this. You need to avoid toxins, avoid blueberries, avoid apple. Don't breathe the air. Don't go in the grass. Don't go outside. And by the way, don't stay inside either, because all of our household chemicals are toxic. Your wood floors are toxic. There's mold in your house. All of us now, today, you want to talk about trauma. It's almost traumatic trying to be healthy, because we just live in this panic. So often there's this tipping point. Okay, we're on one. Here's a little classic Dr. Tony tangent inside of a podcast right here. Some of my healthiest patients are my least healthy patients by a million miles. The ones who have the most pristine diets, who literally take their house and it doesn't, you get where I'm going. I won't give you too many examples. When we become so in fear of toxins and pesticides and preservatives and chemtrails and everything that's out there in this world, and it's all out there. It is really there. These are real things that really don't help our health. But we forget that if we become so obsessed with that, and we think we're doing it for a positive, health-inducing way, there's this tipping point, and I've watched hundreds, if not thousands, of my patients go past the line where now they're so riddled with anxiety and fear and stress about their lifestyle, about their diet, about their Airbnb, about what's on the airplane, about what's in the hotel, about what's in their kids' foods, that I can tell you this, we're going to get into it fully with this episode. There's 3 kinds of stress. There's physical stress. So falls, accidents, traumas, birth trauma is a physical stressor, and it's also chemical and emotional, but it's primarily physical. Second, there's chemical stress, toxins. And third, there's emotional stress. Since I told you today we would rank some things out and really put the batting order and the sequencing together, let me tell you point blank, the third one is the worst one, and it's not even close. Emotional trauma is the most sticky. Emotional trauma tends to not be a one-time event. It either carries on in our life, right? If we've had really, really stressful upbringings or certain things are happening in our lives or our kids' lives, versus a physical trauma, one-time event. It happens in a moment and the body instantly, immediately starts to try and heal, and is beginning to heal and repair. Toxic trauma, right? I say this to parents, you go out and have a few too many drinks. Yes, you're going to feel it the next day. When you're in 20s, you can get over it maybe in a day or two. Your 30s, it's a day and a half. Your 40s, it's 4 weeks. And you eventually get over it though, because it's a one-time event and your body has these healing endeavors that it will kick in immediately after. And it will repair the damage done from some of those traumas, most often physical and chemical. Obviously, they can go deep, they can get stickier, and we can need help, but I'm keeping it light here. Emotional trauma is different. Emotional trauma tends to keep going all the time, and then emotional trauma goes deeper into the somatic system and into the structural system, and the body keeps the score and it stores it there. So I just want to tell you, and I know I went into kind of a 3-layer deep Tony tangent on that, as we move into this better health, not just through chemistry, conventional medicine, better health through nutrition, diet changes, detoxes, and lifestyle interventions, functional medicine. But as we move into this neuro age where we know that to really complete the healing process, we need to tap into nervous system healing. I want you to know point blank, here's the take-home message of this episode right here. Nervous system healing does not begin with deep breathing, craniosacral, and nervous system regulation, taking, supplementation like magnesium and zinc to support our nervous system, or ashwagandha, or whatever it may be. Nervous system healing begins and must start with nervous system repair, get the nervous system into a more regulated, ready state, what we call neurological stability, and then you can kick in nervous system regulation activities from there and see an incredible long game transformative process with this. So I just want to tell so many of you out there that whether for your child or for you, the real root of your chronic illness, exhaustion, anxiety, gut, autoimmune, pandas, PANS, POTS, developmental delays, autism, epilepsy, it is something that we can't just breathe our way out of, supplement our way out of. It is actually broken, disconnected neurological wiring. And really it's deep within what we call the neurostructure or the neurosomatic system. And we must address that first. So let's dig in to this science just one notch further. The foundation of our health is the foundation of our body. It's the somatic system. So trauma, whether physical, emotional, or toxic, is not just felt mentally, it's stored somatically in the body and in the nervous system. Now this somatic system, it's the old Latin word that says structure. Yes, anatomically, the somatic system is our structure, bones, muscles, tissues. But what we know, and the more that we get into this advanced like functional MRIs and deep imaging, again, awesomely from the medical system, the more we know that the nervous system is alive in every single living tissue, organ, and cell. I mean, even when I went into chiropractic school, they used to think, oh, the disc is mostly, there's no nerve findings inside the disc. So pain, when it's discogenic pain, this is a very chiropractic thing, right? When it's discogenic pain, it's like these ancillary, no. The disc has not only, vascular, getting blood flow and oxygen into it, but the disc has deep neuro connections, because the nervous system is not only structural. The nervous system not only has, like you would think of it, right? The nerves are like the wires going through the body, and that's exactly how it is. But the nervous system doesn't just rely on the wiring. The nervous system doesn't just rely on the circulatory system and moving magnesium and all these other sort of things and sodium ion channels like they taught us back in school. The nervous system is this almost impossible to describe communication system. It travels faster than the speed of light. It is really incredible. And the nervous system is especially interwoven into the somatic or the structural system. So our bones, our muscles, and our tissues. It's the body and the nervous system that hold that imprint of trauma, and they often hold it below conscious awareness. Now, what does that mean? The brain and the body are connected. So the brain is always knowing what the body is doing, good, bad, and everything in between. But the brain is also this supercomputer that needs to focus on the rest of life, right? So what the brain will do when it's been exposed to significant amounts of trauma for a long period of time that have not been healed, repaired, and cleared out of the way, is the brain is going to do its best for your child and for you. The brain is going to move its focus, conscious awareness, and try and focus elsewhere. It's going to try and go on with life, but this trauma imprint held at this subconscious, what we would call dysautonomia. So below that level, that trauma is still there. And if you know farming at all, that trauma works like a plow. A plow is something that sticks in the ground, and if it's stuck in the ground, it's hard to pull forward, right? It drags behind the tractor, and it slows things down, right? So trauma is this deeply entrenched and imprinted neurostructural, neurospinal, neurosomatic imprint of the stress that might have been there during the fertility and the pregnancy journey. And guess whose body might store that stress? Both mom and baby. Birth trauma is a physical, literal injury to the spine, to the skull, to the somatic, structural, bones, muscles, nerves, tissues of the spine, the brainstem, the skull, the neurospinal system, we call that an aggregate. The body of the baby is going to store that until it's repaired, until it's adjusted, until it's better. Mom's trauma from that experience and all that occurs there, both physically and emotionally, mom's body stores that. And dads, we're not out of this. Our heart is our wives and our children. Our soul, our purpose is to protect them. So when we see our children literally struggling with their health, with their immune system, with their gut, with their emotions, with their behavior, with their development, when we see our wives struggling with their own healing journey and their trauma and their fight to help heal our kiddos, it absolutely positively buries us as dads. Whether we are consciously aware of it, 99% of the time we're not. Whether we could actually put verbiage to that and communicate that 99.9% of the time, we can't. But it's there. We feel it. You feel it, Dad. It's in your low back. It's in between your shoulder blades. It's in your neck. It's in your tension headaches. It's in your brain fog. It's in your exhaustion. It's in your gut shutting off. It's in your adrenals tapping out. It's in your testosterone going into the toilet. It's in your health too. The body keeps the score. Where? In the neurosomatic system. When we go through trauma, no matter what kind, and no matter whether it was one or many, and most of us, that's the whole essence of the perfect storm, have gone through many components of trauma, it shifts our nervous system into something. If you've been listening to podcasts, you know this well. It shifts our nervous system into a protective state. That's called sympathetic dominance. The sympathetic system, if you think of trauma, if you literally see an accident coming, if you see somebody barreling towards you, another car barreling towards you, or you're about to fall, you innately, naturally, neurologically flex. You go into a flexed protective posture. Now, imagine with me, and I know we're on a podcast, so I can't charade this out with you like if you were watching on YouTube. By the way, our YouTube channel is fire. If you do want to watch this on YouTube, you always can. You get my, at least, I don't have any images on here or slides like I'm doing a webinar or a summit, but you can at least see me physically, we record these on the camera too, so you can see me act this out. But when we get into a chronic state of trauma, we go into this, our children and us, we go into this flexion state, and our head hangs forward and it hangs out in gravity, and that makes all of the muscles of our neck and our shoulders and our traps and our spine work more. It's not just tech neck. It's not just stuck at a desk. It's freaking trauma. It's physical, yes. Chemical, yes. Emotional, yes. And you can't talk your way. One of the best episodes we've ever had, and we'll link it in the show notes of this one because it's a very analogous conversation with one of the best in the world at helping healing trauma stuck in the somatic system, our homie, Dr. Sharina. But you literally can't talk your way out of this trauma when it's trapped physically, structurally, neurosomatically, neurospinally, within subluxation, within your spine, your brainstem, and your vagus nerve. We need to do deep, potent, effective, foundational, sometimes quite high frequency for a decent length of duration body work to get that trauma out. This is where chiropractic comes in. And I'm going to bring other things in the conversation too. What that protective sympathetic dominant state is called when it hits, which is the first place it hits, by the way, and the worst place it hits, when it hits the spine and it hits the neurospinal system, that's called subluxation. Subluxation and neurological interference are where the nervous system shifts and gets stuck in fight or flight protection. And there's a quote we have all over our office on our gas versus brake pedal poster. It's called, "You can't be in growth, healing, repair, and protection at the same time." Growth is healing. Growth is repair. The body has to literally repair hundreds of millions of cells every single day. When you go for a workout, how do you heal and get stronger when you're lifting weights? Well, first you have to break down muscle tissue, and then it heals, repairs, and restores stronger. So I didn't want to wait this long to say this because it's the positive, incredible component of this. What I can tell you also by reading the Bible, what I can tell you also by reading every biology and neurology and neurophysiology and neurophysiobiology textbook out there is that we actually get stronger on the other side of trauma. None of the things we went through were meant to stay stuck there. But when subluxation stays stuck in the system, until it's adjusted, until it's rooted out, that nervous system stays storing that trauma within the body, and it stays stuck, literally, neurosomatically and physically stuck within our neck, within our shoulders, within our low back, within our pelvis, and within our somatic structural system. So subluxation shifts the nervous system into sympathetic dominance. It shuts down the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic system, which is where growth, healing, and regulation occurs. So the right kind of chiropractic care is certainly, by all means, goodness gracious, not back cracking and mobilizing the spinal segments so that you physically feel better. No, foundational, root cause, nervous system focused chiropractic is about doing exactly that, getting into the root cause of chronic challenges and challenges of all kinds, and resetting, repairing, restoring the nervous system and getting it ready for nervous system regulation, which we're going to next because it's so effective and it's so awesome and it's so needed for wellness and health and continued thriving for the whole family after we've done the foundational repair and healing. So I just want to drive this home before we move on to nervous system regulation and the support tools and how to know when you're ready for them. I just want you to know that neurologically focused chiropractic care, high frequency, neurotonal adjusting, and probably if you have gone through significant trauma and the perfect storm, your child has gone through significant trauma and the perfect storm, I want you to know that sometimes that foundational healing step can take years. I wish, but I know our audience. So this audience especially, we are blessed to serve those of you who have been through storm after storm. And when we go through your child's case history and your family's case history, there's a lot of attached pages. There's a lot of just depth and storm after storm after storm to that. So in this place, if we kind of come back to our analogy we've been talking about all episode long, where the body keeps the score, and we move this neurotrauma, neurosomatic trauma into math, and then we apply it to the positive direction with healing, it's just honestly a neuro-mathematical equation. The longer that a child has been stuck in the storm, the more math challenges they have that they are facing. And same with an adult, same with a teen, same with anybody. The more the perfect storm case history is there, and the longer they've had it, we call it percentage of life subluxated. And then there's an algorithm. We call it our perfect storm care planning algorithm. All of our docs are trained to know it inside and out. They're the best in the world at it. We know how to add up that score. When that book came out, The Body Keeps the Score, I love it. It's real close, but it goes real light on the somatic system and the structural system and the vagus nerve. And it doesn't really bring, obviously, subluxation, central nervous system, autonomic nervous system, chiropractic to light. That's where the body keeps the score. And we can actually measure that through your case history, and then we can measure that through the insight scans. So I just want you to know that this foundational repair season and this first step, that might be years. Hopefully it's just months. And if it's a brand new baby or somebody who's relatively healthy and just has gone through more mild to moderate or shorter seasons of trauma, it can be a few weeks and they can get all the way to the other side. But when it is what most of us that are getting into this world and really searching for these answers and feel like we've tried it all and nothing's worked, that's a dead sign that even nervous system foundational repair chiropractic might need years to get the brain to a place where it's ready to do away with the seizures, to get the brain to a place where it's ready for speech to turn back on, social to turn back on, emotional regulation to turn back on. I just now, the further, as we go into our second and soon third year of the podcast, I know our crew and our community better than I did when we started. And I want to continue to be even more clear with you to say you're doing it right. When you take this foundational repair of the nervous system step first, stick with it. I even need our doctor. I probably need our doctors to hear this message more than anything else, because sometimes we'll give up on ourselves, before even parents, and because it's hard work to say, hey, we got to dig that deep. We got to go that far into nervous system repair that often for that long. But I've been at it long enough to know that the miracles truly are on the other side. And it's the best when it's a few weeks or a few months, but it's still the best when it's a few years. It's just a harder battle with more perseverance and more persistence and more faith and more adjustments and more inputs to get that healing to happen. Okay. I promised you I would talk about getting into nervous system stability and the ready state and how to know that's there. Well, perfect segue, because I was just talking about the insight scans and the fact that we can measure it. So if we can measure how deep this stress has gone into the nervous system and how the nervous system keeps the score with our insight scans, so thermal, EMG, and HRV, we can also measure progress. So we measure progress through these neurometrics and the insight scans. We measure progress through what we call the Neurosoft signs. We'll link that episode to this one where we talk about, hey, if we can, maybe the seizures are still there, but sleeping is better and pooping is better and eating is better and movement is better and sensory is better and all these other foundational, what we call soft signs. They're literally soft foundational signs of the body getting better on the way to deeper, more advanced brain-based healing and nervous system healing. Well, now we know we're moving in the right direction. And there's this line in the proverbial neurophysiological sand where, did I just say that out loud? Man, I'm getting nerdier as this podcast goes on, guys. What's happening? Okay, so yeah, I'll just say it again. The proverbial neurophysiological sand with the neurometrics from the insight scans, HRV, data tables, nerdy as it gets, we can measure it. We can find out when your child is now in a more stable, ready state. And here's a list of 8 things that I need you to hear about this list. At first, the things I'm about to put on the list are not typically, there's no such thing as 100% when I talk about this stuff. At first, the 8 things on my list are not as deep as a neurologically focused neurotonal chiropractic adjustment and deeper body work. So if we start with one of these 8 things, they will help They're all awesome. I am the biggest fan of the next 8 things I'm about to rip through here for you and give you a little bit of what it is, how it complements nervous system repair, and really more it's a nervous system regulator than repair intervention, and when to use it. So I love all 8 of these things, but you may, when I go through this list, you may go, oh, we tried that and it didn't work. But the devil's in the details here where we go, well, at what stage of healing did you try it? In what order? If it showed up and was put in play before the nervous system was ready out of that locked in sympathetic dominant protective state, these things just aren't potent enough and deep enough to get in. So number 1, huge fan of craniosacral therapy, okay? Craniosacral, so CST therapy. A lot of times people will look at craniosacral therapy and they'll be like, oh, that's exactly like chiropractic, isn't it? No, not exactly. Kind of not close. Craniosacral therapy is gentle hands-on technique that works with the craniosacral rhythms and really works to reset the flow of what's called cerebral spinal fluid. All chiropractors, well, all PX doctors are very trained in what are called neurodural CSF flow sort of techniques. We know that subluxation limits not only neurological communication and coordination, but subluxation limits CSF flow. So our PX docs especially a lot of them are experts in SOT, sacro-occipital technique, so super similar. And our adjustments not only work really well with CST, which could come into play later on, our adjustments tend to do the same and more. And I said tend to because I want to be really nice, but what I mean to say is we do this too, and we can do it even deeper, more potently, and more effectively. Not to say that they're the same thing, but the coolest thing about being a chiropractor is we're trained as PTs. We're trained in so many other things. Chiropractic, not that everybody knows this in the public, but chiropractic is quite a big box, quite a big tool set of things that we can do for the neurosomatic structural system, neuromuscular, CSF, circulatory. Chiropractic can do and do more than an osteopathic manipulation can. Chiropractic can do the same and more that craniosacral can. That said, because it is so often done differently, and these practitioners that do craniosacral therapy are really wonderful humans that know healing and tapping into the parasympathetic restoration regulation side so well, we love that it helps release these subtle tension patterns, gets the CSF flowing. Craniosacral is especially effective for colicky, fussy babies and little ones, but it can help older kids and adults as well. If you try it prior to chiropractic though, it might not just tap in and get deep enough. Number 2 on my list, neurofeedback, biofeedback. Some of my favorite people in the world. Dr. Roseanne, shout out to that genius. She uses this tool, this intervention better than anybody else in the world. But she also knows if she gets a kiddo in who is really severely, and most kids today, unfortunately, have really gone through the perfect storm and would fit this criteria, she knows, hey, I got to send them out for neurologically focused chiropractic first, and then we'll layer on neurofeedback and biofeedback later on. So it's a brain training method that uses real-time EEG data to monitor and try and retrain these brainwave patterns. All I want you to know about neurofeedback for this one, it is phenomenal for nervous system regulation. It absolutely does get down that road of rewiring and repatterning, which, oh my goodness, I couldn't be the bigger fan of. Helping to teach the brain to self-regulate and reinforce these healthier, again, wiring patterns within the brain. I just want you to know this. The brain, for the most part, does what the body tells it to do. So if the brainstem, the neurospinal system, and the somatic structural system, let's just call it the body, is still stuck in trauma, it's still stuck in sympathetic dominance, vagus nerve dysfunction, you're not going to be able to retrain that brain. You've got to get into chiropractic care, get the bottom-up repair working first through the neurospinal system, tap into the vagus nerve, and then you can take this more top-down approach with neurofeedback and biofeedback that gets into that cortical brain activity, and you could expect bigger, better changes from it, okay? So not a first tool in the majority of cases, more of a tool after subluxation, dysautonomia, dysregulation are getting into this more ready state and stabilization phase, and you're ready for nervous system regulation and optimization, I love this as a tool for that continued health and nervous system promotion at that stage going forward. Now, there's somatic experiencing, trauma-informed body work. This is some stuff our friend Dr. Amy does a great job with this on YouTube. She's going to come onto the podcast. She just wrote a great book that made it into the top 10. Congratulations to Dr. Amy. Really, really great work. Again, a lot of our chiropractic techniques actually bring number 3 into how we adjust and get into that structure system. But this is a therapeutic approach that helps release stored trauma from the body by really helping the patient bring better awareness to it and move through it without getting that re-triggering stored emotional response. It's great for patients with PTSD, emotional trauma, and chronic pain, where you take an MRI and you take an X-ray and you're like, doesn't look like it should be that bad. This one is a great intervention for that. Number 4, biggest fan. And again, we do this. We've actually layered this into our work, but then there's some practitioners. Shout out to Dr. Kelly. I need to have her on the podcast as well. Myofascial release. This is a targeted soft tissue technique that takes a hold of these fascial restrictions, which are as real as rain. They're very close cousins to subluxation, and says, get the heck out of the way. You're holding this trauma, this locked in stress, misalignment, and compensation pattern within these fascial kind of in between middleman tissues. And myofascial release does such a great job at getting rid of that tension, that scar tissue, and those lingering components of physical, toxic, and emotional trauma. Again, we've brought in what we call neuromyofascial release as an adjunct along with our neurotonal adjustments. All of it, if you're seeing a PX doc certified chiropractor, they know how to bring this to the table. But I also love working with PTs and hands-on practitioners who are myofascial release just gurus, because this isn't the main thing we do as chiropractors. It's more of a supportive thing we do. So I have plenty of cases where I want more myofascial release done at the later stages. Remember, we're talking about these 8 things are later stage healing endeavors. So I will often recommend craniosacral or neurofeedback or myofascial release into these later stages to get another boost forward into these soft tissues and see a response from it. Massage therapy, especially lymphatic and vagus nerve focused massage therapy, love it. I'm going to kind of move a little quicker through these last couple. It really supports detoxification and healing. Again, you got to have the nervous system ready to receive it. Here's a dead ringer I can tell you about whether you're benefiting positively from massage or not. If you go and you get a massage and you feel great the day of, and you feel awful the day after, you're not regulated. So massage therapy should be something more for regulation and health promotion, because the soft tissues are just doing what the nervous system tells it to do. We can't use anything that is soft tissue versus, meaning it's not really neurologically focused, to get actual repair happening. And most of us have so much sympathetic dominance, vagus nerve suppression. Most of us are pretty jacked up as adults. And so we go to get a massage and it's like the first day is awesome and the next 2 days are terrible. That's a sign that you really probably need a stronger, healthier dose of chiropractic, and you still need some nervous system repair to set up a more positive experience and benefit from massage. Breathwork, tension release exercises, diaphragmatic breathing, holotropic breathing. Love this stuff. But have you ever tried it when you're completely sympathetic dominant? Try to teach it to your kid when they're stuck in the storm. So breath is one of the most direct access points. Every time I get done doing a podcast, how do you think my nervous system is doing when I talk this fast? Anybody try and listen to me on 1.5 speed? You are really, your brain is free. You are a well-adjusted, neurologically efficient auditory processing wizard. You should be studied, because if you can keep up with me at 1.5 on your podcast player when I talk at 1.75, you are really something. So I love breath work. Structural integration, Rolfing is kind of its name. Fun word there, right? Rolfing. When you just think of it, you're like, ooh, is that going to hurt? Oh yeah, for sure. So deep body work that tries to reorganize posture and alignment around gravity. It is awesome. Obviously, we're not doing this for babies. We're not doing this for toddlers, but adults and teens whose nervous system, neurostructural system has gone through all this trauma and then just collapsed. Posture just fell apart and you look like you're falling over all the time, scoliosis, high stress issues like that. Get into this. It works great. And then honestly, number 8 on my list, reflexology, Reiki, zone therapy, trigger point therapy, kind of putting a lot of them together. A lot of times sometimes a massage therapist will do, a lot of times the massage therapist will be like, hey, I went out and I got craniosacral certified, because there's ways to do it a lot easier, right? And then they might be reflexology and they might be zone therapy. So totally cool. A lot of times body work practitioners, just like chiropractors, they have a, expanded skill set. They offer multiple services. So if you're looking for nervous system regulation, because you tapped into this, and your nervous system is already repaired, your children are doing well, and you're looking to, like me and my family, like I've got the red light, I've got the sunlight and sauna behind me. We've got our gym over there where we not only work out, but we've got all sorts of things for fascial release. We've got we can go in there and get work there. We often have a massage therapist come out and set up shop and just light into us, right? Trigger point therapy, myofascial, everything else through that. So in my home, I'm literally inside my studio, this area that I always do the podcast from when I'm at home. We have another studio in town by the practice, but this studio is it's a Hope Dealer studio. It's where I make content for you guys. And then 2, it's my family's nervous system regulation RV. It's not really an RV. It'd actually be super cool if it was. I would never stay in an RV because, those of you that go camping, that's amazing. Are you like, hey, you know what? I know everybody that they made hotels, and hotels have nice places to stay and they're warm and they're sheltered. And you're like, you know what? I would rather, it's going to be more fun for me to try and fight off a bear. And I'll already be active fighting off this bear because I'll be swinging my arms all around in the air at all times, because I'm going to be swatting mosquitoes and bugs and everything, because that's who lives in the woods. Did you know that mosquitoes and bears live in the woods? And then you guys as humans are like, we should take this tent from Sam's Club that won't even keep my kid in here, and we should go set it out there. Then we should bring some food and leave. Let's get some s'mores out here. Maybe the bears will like some s'mores, and then that'll be fun. So I don't know how you guys do that, but I do promise you at least a couple of random stories, even at the very end. It's a long podcast. Who's still with us on that one? So those 8 things, along with yoga, saunas, supplements, they are awesome. And nervous system regulation, they do not provide nervous system repair. In summary, simply put, the level of perfect storm stressors, physical, chemical, and emotional, that your kids went through, and especially add yes the physical, add yes the chemical to you, mom and dad, but especially the emotional trauma that we've been through, and all the multifaceted coming at us from every angle stress, toxicity, and trauma that we still are exposed to on a pretty regular daily basis, locks in our neurosomatic, neurostructural, neurospinal system so much into this sympathetic fight or flight dominance that the entire body gets deeply entrenched and imprinted with that trauma. Where is it stored? Not just in the gut, and not just in your adrenals, and not just in the stress glands. It's stored in your structure. It's stored in your somatic system. Stress is stored in the body neurologically. That subluxated, sympathetic dominant, vagus nerve suppressed, locked in state means the body is so deeply physically locked into a protective response that this long list of things that are now showing up as things you and your family should tap into as you learn more about, it's the nervous system that we need to heal in order to get over from autism or autoimmune or whatever it is. that surface level of the conversation is as accurate and right, and I'm its biggest advocate you've ever seen. But once we open the box to nervous system healing, we have to understand that nervous system repair and foundational first step healing is significantly different than nervous system regulation and support, which we can use down the road. So the good news is all of it works, but the best healing happens in the right sequence and in the right order. We need to be able to put that batting order in place, and then we need to be able to be patient enough and use the technology like we have in our offices through HRV, especially to say, hey, the nervous system has been repaired at its foundational level. It's ready for those next interventions. It's ready for those next layers. It's now ready for nervous system regulation activities. It's ready for different interventions to take healing a few more paces down the road, because for a lot of our kids and a lot of us, that's absolutely needs to happen. So the nervous system is designed to be healed. It might just need that deeper body work to get it done. And it might need, so even those of you that have been through chiropractic, you just might need more of it for a longer period of time. Talk to your doc and see if increasing frequency might be the thing that breaks through a stuck, plateaued place. There's a whole episode about that too. If you're feeling stuck, feeling plateaued, send us a DM. We'll send you the episode and the article about that. Once you get to the ready state and you have experienced some incredible healing, your child is doing better, but you know there's a few more things, speech, seizures, these other sort of things are still there. There's still toxicity, there's still things going on. Well, guess what? I've seen it again and again with our patients. Shout out JoJo, shout out Miss Winslow, that now when we get their nervous system to the ready state and we add myofascial release or we add things to support detoxification, now the body says, thank you. I was ready to heal with that too. And it becomes so much more effective. So some signs that you need nervous system repair first. You're doing all the therapies and they're not sticking and they're not working. You're doing all the gut health protocols, the diet changes and the detoxes, and they're not working. Or worse, they're making things worse. Or things get better, then they get worse. Things get better, then they get worse. You just are on this roller coaster of constant relapses and flare-ups. That's a dead sign that the nervous system needs to be repaired first. And then you could also track this. If you want a metric, a data point, get access to heart rate variability. And if you don't have stability in your HRV, then you're not quite ready to layer in these nervous system regulation activities. Per usual, because this is such a deep, important, especially in today's world where we're all moving to the nervous system, but then inside that box, where do we start first and what do we do next? That's the big question. Regulation tools are amazing. And I know this took me longer than I wanted it to be, but I hope you got all the way through this one, because when you know this and you do this, you experience miracles. It's transformative. Regulation tools are amazing, but they cannot be the first foundational step. We need to heal truly at that deep root cause, and then the nervous system becomes more adaptable, more resilient, more free, more ready for regulation. You add regulation on top of it. Now you create what we call slack and stability in the system, and that's when the body fully, incredibly, almost hard to describe the level with which it heals and you experience miracles. And that's the whole point of this podcast. Per usual, I thought I could get that to you in about 20 to 30 minutes max. I think that 30-minute max left us quite a while ago, maybe during my third tangent. I even threw some, loving shade at you campers out there. So I will let you go. We love you. We'll see you on the next one.